Welcome, and thank you for joining me on this powerful journey of transformation. This audiobook, How to Raise Your Standards to Level Up, is written and published by ReadFlow Audiobook, your trusted source for growth, clarity, and personal mastery. Think about this truth. Every single breakthrough in your life will be directly linked to the standards you hold for yourself. The quality of your relationships, the results you see in your career, the progress in your health, and the depth of your personal growth, all of it is shaped by what you decide to tolerate and what you demand from yourself. Most people do not fail because they lack potential. They fail because their standards are too low. They accept mediocrity, settle for good enough, and convince themselves that comfort is safer than growth. But here's the secret. When you raise your standards, everything changes. You no longer operate from excuses, you begin operating from expectations. You no longer negotiate with your limitations, you start commanding results from yourself. This audiobook is designed to help you do exactly that, to raise your standards and level up in every area of your life. We will uncover the habits, the mindset shifts, and the actionable steps that will help you stop settling and start demanding more from yourself, your environment, and your future. So as you listen, open your mind and allow these words to challenge you. If you're ready to stop living at the level of just enough and start creating a life defined by excellence, purpose, and power, then let's begin. Chapter 1. The Power of Standards. Every person lives by a set of standards, whether they realize it or not. Your standards are the invisible boundaries that dictate how you eat, how you dress, how you work, how you treat others, and most importantly, how you treat yourself. They are the inner thermostat of your life. Think about it this way. A thermostat in a room is set to a specific temperature. If the temperature rises too high, the air conditioning brings it down. If the temperature drops too low, the heat brings it back up. No matter what happens outside, the room always returns to the standard it's been set to. The same is true for your life. No matter how much success or opportunity comes your way, you will always fall back to the level of your standards. If your standard for health is low, you'll always drift back into unhealthy patterns. If your standard for finances is low, you'll always find yourself back in debt. If your standard for relationships is low, you'll repeatedly settle for people who do not value you. This is why raising your standards is not just a motivational idea. It is a practical, life-altering decision. It means deciding that you will no longer accept what you've tolerated in the past. It means demanding a higher level of consistency, effort, and discipline from yourself. The subtle trap of good enough. Most people don't realize how destructive good enough can be. This relationship isn't perfect, but it's not terrible either. But good enough kills greatness. It keeps you trapped in cycles where you never feel fulfilled because deep down you know you're capable of more. When your standards are low, your results will always mirror that low expectation. The shift that changes everything. When you raise your standards, something profound happens. You start aligning your actions with a new identity. You no longer try to do better. You simply refuse to operate beneath your new baseline. If you raise your standard for health, you don't eat junk food regularly because it no longer aligns with who you are. If you raise your standard for financial discipline, you don't overspend because it's beneath the new version of yourself. If you raise your standard for relationships, you don't tolerate disrespect because you've decided it's not acceptable. This is how lasting change is created, not by chasing motivation, but by upgrading the standards that guide your behavior. Action steps. Raising your standards today. Here are 3 practical exercises you can begin right now. Identify your current standards. Write down the 3 areas of your life where you feel the most dissatisfaction: health, career, finances, relationships, or personal growth. Then ask yourself, what am I currently tolerating in this area? That tolerance is your standard. Redefine your minimums. Decide today what you will no longer accept. For example, I will no longer accept less than 7 hours of sleep. I will no longer accept working without purpose. I will no longer accept people who drain my energy. Replace tolerance with action. Choose one standard and implement a small daily practice that reinforces it. If your standard is better health, commit to drinking water before every meal. If your standard is growth, Commit to reading 10 minutes every morning. Remember, transformation doesn't happen by reaching for maximums. It happens by refusing to drop below your new minimum. The beginning of your transformation, this first step, recognizing the power of your standards, is the foundation for everything else in your life. Because the truth is, life will always rise or fall to meet the level you set for yourself. So ask yourself today, what's my standard, and am I ready to raise it? Because once you raise your standards, the level you operate at will never be the same again. Chapter 2. Stop tolerating less than you deserve. When you raise your standards, the very next step is to stop tolerating anything that falls beneath them. This is where real transformation begins, because raising your standards without eliminating old tolerances is like declaring you'll run a marathon but still choosing to sit on the couch every evening. The truth is, life doesn't just give you what you want, it gives you what you're willing to tolerate. If you tolerate mediocrity, you'll live in mediocrity. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll attract people who treat you poorly. If you tolerate procrastination, you'll stay stuck in cycles of delay. Every tolerance in your life acts like a hidden leak, draining your energy, your focus, and your potential. The silent cost of toleration. You may not notice it immediately, but tolerating what you know is beneath you comes with a heavy price. It erodes self-respect. Every time you allow something you know is wrong for you, you chip away at your belief in yourself. It breeds resentment. You become frustrated, not only with others, but with yourself for letting it continue. It prevents growth. As long as you keep making room for the wrong things, you'll never have space for the right ones. It's like carrying a backpack full of bricks everywhere you go. The weight isn't obvious at first, but over time it slows you down, weakens you, and keeps you from running the race of your potential. The courage to say no more. The moment your life begins to shift is the moment you say, I refuse to live like this any longer. This isn't about being harsh or unkind. It's about choosing to protect your future. If you're constantly exhausted because you tolerate poor sleep habits, it's time to stop. If you're stuck in a job that drains you because you tolerate mediocrity, it's time to demand more of yourself. If you're allowing negative influences into your circle, it's time to let go. The world will never hand you more until you prove that you won't accept less. Practical steps. Eliminating tolerations. Here's how to put this into practice today. Create a no more list. Write down the top 5 things in your life that you know you've been tolerating. Be brutally honest. It could be unhealthy eating, toxic people, wasted time, clutter, or even your own excuses. Rank them by impact. Ask yourself, which one of these drains me the most? Start with that. Trying to eliminate everything at once is overwhelming, but tackling the heaviest burden first gives you momentum. Take one bold action. If it's clutter, clean one space today. If it's unhealthy habits, replace one bad meal with a nourishing one. If it's a draining relationship, set one boundary or have one honest conversation. Reinforce with identity. Don't just stop tolerating something, remind yourself of why. Repeat daily. This is beneath the person I'm becoming. Why this step matters. You can't raise your life by stacking greatness on top of weakness. You have to remove what weakens you first. Every time you say no more to something beneath you, you free yourself to rise higher. Imagine it, the energy you regain, the clarity you unlock, the confidence you build, all by refusing to accept what once held you down. This is the difference between wishing for change and living in change. Wishing says, I want better someday. Standards say, I will not live beneath this level today. So ask yourself right now, what am I still tolerating that has no place in my future? Because the sooner you stop tolerating, the sooner you start transforming. Chapter 3. Define what you truly want and commit relentlessly. Raising your standards and refusing to tolerate less are powerful beginnings. But here's the truth. You cannot rise if you don't know where you're rising to. A vague standard creates vague results. A clear vision creates unstoppable momentum. This is where many people get stuck. They raise their standards, they eliminate tolerations, but they never take the time to define their true target, and as a result they end up drifting. The power of precision. Imagine an archer aiming at a target. Without a clear bullseye, every arrow is wasted energy. Your life is the same. If you don't define what you truly want, you will scatter your focus, waste time, and remain stuck in cycles of frustration. Clarity is power, and commitment turns that clarity into reality. Vague desire: I want to be successful. Clear commitment: I will build a 6-figure online business within the next 2 years. Vague desire: I want to get fit. Clear commitment: I will run a half marathon by this date and train 5 times a week to prepare. See the difference? One is a wish. The other is a commitment. 3 levels of defining what you want. Surface wants: these are the things you think you want because they sound good. More money, a better ROI, nicer things. They are not wrong, but they are not enough. Deep drivers: these are the emotional reasons behind your desires. Why do you want more money? Is it freedom, security, power? Why do you want fitness? Is it health, confidence, longevity? Until you uncover the emotional driver, your motivation will fade. Identity alignment: the deepest level is when what you want aligns with who you decide to become. A goal that matches your identity is unshakable. For example, not I want to read more, but I am a lifelong learner who invests in growth. Not I want to lose weight, but I am an athlete who respects my body. When your wants are aligned with identity, discipline becomes effortless. The relentless commitment principle: once you define what you want, you must commit with relentless energy. Without commitment, clarity is wasted. Commitment means no plan B. Your energy isn't split. You're all in. Consistency over intensity. Showing up daily matters more than bursts of effort. Sacrifice now for later. You let go of short-term comfort for long-term transformation. Think of the people who changed the world. Athletes, inventors, leaders. None of them drifted into greatness. They had a crystal clear vision and backed it with relentless commitment. Practical steps: defining and committing. Be specific. Where are you living? What does your day look like? What do you feel proud of? Who surrounds you? Identify the emotional why. Write down why each goal matters. If the why doesn't spark fire in you, it's not the right goal. Make a written commitment. Sign it like a contract. I commit to achieving goal by date. I will not quit. I will not lower my standard. And I will not negotiate with excuses. This is how you turn a mountain into daily steps. Anchor it in identity. Repeat daily affirmations aligned with your new standard. I am the type of person who... This transforms the goal from an external pursuit into an internal truth. Why this step changes everything. Without clarity, your raised standards drift into frustration. Without commitment, clarity fades into wishful thinking. But when you define exactly what you want and commit with everything you've got, your life takes on a new trajectory. Every choice you make, every action you take, every decision in your day suddenly aligns with your greater vision, and that is how ordinary days become extraordinary lives. Ask yourself now, am I crystal clear about what I want, or am I still moving in circles? And if I know what I want, am I fully committed or am I still holding back? Because the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't distance, it's clarity and commitment. Close that gap, and you step into transformation. Chapter 4. Break the cycle of excuses and self-sabotage. You've raised your standards. You've defined what you want and committed to it. But here's where most people fail. They know to do. They even start moving, but they get stuck in the quicksand of excuses and self-sabotage. It's not lack of talent that keeps people stuck. It's not lack of opportunity. It's the constant negotiation with excuses that robs them of progress. Excuses, the invisible chains. Excuses are subtle. They don't sound destructive. They sound reasonable. They disguise themselves as logic. I'll start when I have more time. I'm not ready yet. I need to prepare more. This isn't the right season of my life. But every excuse, no matter how polished, is still a chain. And each time you agree with one, you lower your standard and reinforce the identity of someone who settles. Ask yourself honestly, how many dreams have you delayed because of a good reason that was actually just an excuse in disguise? Self-sabotage. The enemy within. Excuses are external. Self-sabotage is internal. It's when you know what you should do but create patterns that pull you back down. Examples of self-sabotage include procrastination, delaying what matters most; perfectionism, waiting until things are flawless before starting; distraction, filling your time with trivial tasks instead of meaningful work; mate self-talk, telling yourself you're not good enough, not ready, or not capable. These are not habits. They are silent destroyers of potential. The psychology of excuses and sabotage. Why do we do this to ourselves? Because the brain is wired to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. Progress requires discomfort. Growth requires friction. So the mind invents excuses to keep us safe. Your excuses are not truth. They are protection mechanisms. But here's the truth. Comfort zones are prisons disguised as safe havens. Breaking the cycle. Call out the excuse. Write down the top 3 excuses you use most often. Don't sugarcoat them. See them clearly. Awareness destroys their power. Replace excuses with standards. Example: excuse, I don't have time. Standard: if it matters, I make time. I prioritize, I don't postpone. Build a no-negotiation mindset. Stop debating with yourself. Every time you debate, excuses win. Instead, make decisions once, and then act without discussion. For instance, if you commit to working out 3 times a week, don't debate it when the day comes. Show up like it's non-negotiable because it is. Create systems, not willpower battles. Willpower is limited. Systems are reliable. If you want to stop procrastinating, schedule tasks with deadlines. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your home. Structure eliminates sabotage before it starts. Adopt the 5-minute rule. Whenever you feel resistance, commit to just 5 minutes of action. Most often, momentum takes over, and you keep going. This simple tool breaks procrastination instantly. From excuses to execution. The difference between people who transform and those who stay stuck isn't knowledge. Both know what to do. The difference is execution. Every time you kill an excuse, you reclaim power. Every time you resist self-sabotage, you strengthen discipline. And with each act of discipline, your standards become reality. A challenge for you. For the next 7 days, notice every time an excuse arises. Instead of accepting it, ask, what is the truth? What action aligns with my higher standard? Then take that action, no matter how small. Do this consistently, and you'll train your mind to value progress over comfort. You'll break the invisible chains that have held you back for years. Because the truth is this: the life you want will never coexist with excuses. You must choose one. And when you choose execution over excuses, transformation is inevitable. Chapter 5. Build unshakable self-discipline. If raising your standards is the foundation and eliminating excuses clears the path, then self-discipline is the engine that drives everything forward. Without discipline, even the highest standards collapse. With discipline, even the hardest goals become inevitable. Discipline is freedom disguised as sacrifice. Most people see discipline as restriction. Waking up early, controlling impulses, saying no to comfort. But here's the truth. Discipline doesn't trap you, it frees you. It frees you from regret, from chaos, from the cycle of starting and stopping. Think about it. The most powerful people in any field are not the ones who always feel motivated. They are the ones who act consistently, regardless of how they feel. That's discipline. The myth of motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It rises when things are exciting and vanishes when things get tough. If you rely on motivation, you'll always move in bursts, starting strong, then collapsing. Discipline, however, is steady. It doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't depend on inspiration. It is a decision backed by repeated action. The truth is, motivation may get you started, but only discipline will keep you going. The core principles of self-discipline. You must know exactly what standard you're enforcing. Is it waking up at 6 a.m., writing 500 words a day, saving 20% of your income. Be precise. Vagueness destroys discipline. Environment over willpower. Your environment should serve your goals, not sabotage them. Want to focus? Eliminate distractions. Want to eat healthier? Remove junk food from your house. Want to work consistently? Build a workspace that triggers productivity. Discipline is not about fighting temptation every day. It's about designing a life where temptation rarely appears. Rituals over randomness. Discipline thrives on routines. Morning rituals, evening rituals, work blocks. When your day is structured, you act without decision fatigue. The fewer choices you have to make, the stronger your discipline becomes. Accountability. Humans are wired to care about reputation. If you struggle with consistency, find someone who will hold you accountable. Publicly commit to your standard, or join a group where discipline is the norm. Accountability multiplies commitment. The rule of non-negotiation. Decide once, act repeatedly. When you treat your commitments as optional, you fail. When you treat them as law, you follow through. Stop giving yourself escape routes. How to strengthen discipline like a muscle. Discipline is not fixed. It grows with you. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life in a single week. Instead, master more habit, then another. Each win compounds your identity as someone who is disciplined. Want to wake up earlier? Start by waking up just 15 minutes earlier. Want to read daily? Commit to just 10 minutes at first. Want to exercise? Begin with short, consistent workouts. Small commitments lead to big transformations, because what matters is not the size of the action, it's the consistency of the action. The cost of undisciplined living. Undisciplined living feels easy in the moment, but is brutal in the long term. Regret is heavier than discipline. Laziness looks cheap now, but it charges interest that compounds for years. Ask yourself, do you want the discomfort of discipline today, or the pain of regret tomorrow? One is temporary, the other is permanent. The identity shift. Here's the most important part. True discipline isn't about forcing yourself forever. It's about transforming your identity. Once you identify as someone who is disciplined, your actions naturally align. For example, a smoker who tries to quit but still says "I'm trying to quit" will struggle. But someone who says "I'm not a smoker" has shifted identity, and action follows identity. Adopt the same mindset. I am disciplined. I follow through. I do what I say. The more you reinforce that belief, the stronger your actions become. Your discipline challenge. For the next 21 days, pick one habit that aligns with your raised standard. Commit to it daily. No excuses, no negotiations. Track it. Celebrate consistency, not perfection. By the end of those 21 days, you won't just have a new habit, you'll have a new identity. You'll see yourself as disciplined, and that belief will ripple into every area of your life. Discipline is the difference between potential and reality. It's the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. And once you master it, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you. Chapter 6. Break free from comfort and embrace growth. Discipline builds the engine, but what fuels that engine? Growth. And growth never lives inside your comfort zone. If you want to raise your standards and dent into a new version of yourself, you must make peace with discomfort. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort, soft couches, predictable routines, safe choices. But comfort is a slow poison. It numbs your ambition, weakens your resilience, and locks you into mediocrity. Growth, on the other hand, demands friction. It asks you to step into situations that stretch you, scare you, even frustrate you. And though it hurts in the moment, discomfort is where transformation is born. The comfort trap. Comfort feels safe, but it's deceptive. Staying comfortable today robs you of tomorrow's potential. It's why people stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, or routines that suffocate them, because it's easier to endure familiar pain than face unfamiliar growth. But here's the truth. Comfort zones shrink over time. What once felt comfortable becomes suffocating if you never expand it. Growth zones expand. Every time you lean into discomfort, your world gets bigger. Why discomfort equals growth? Think about how muscles grow. You push them beyond their limits. They tear, and then they rebuild stronger. Life works the same way. Discomfort is resistance. It breaks you so you can build up. If you fear public speaking, standing on that stage is your gym. If you fear rejection, putting yourself out there is your workout. If you fear failure, trying bold things is your training ground. Avoiding discomfort keeps you weak. Leaning into it makes you unstoppable. The 3 zones of growth: comfort zone, safe, predictable, stagnant. Nothing changes here. Stretch zone, uncomfortable, uncertain, slightly intimidating. This is where growth happens. Panic zone, overwhelming, paralyzing, unsustainable. Avoid this. Growth doesn't require drowning. The sweet spot is your stretch zone. It's where things feel challenging but achievable. Push yourself there daily. The 1 step beyond rule. Here's a simple way to embrace discomfort. Always take 1 step beyond what feels safe. If you normally stop at 10 push-ups, do 12. If you're used to writing 500 words, write 600. If you always stay quiet in meetings, share 1 idea. Tiny stretches, consistently applied, create massive growth. The key is not to overwhelm yourself, but to keep stretching. Discomfort is temporary. Growth is permanent. The human brain is wired to adapt. What once terrified you eventually becomes second nature. Think about the first time you drove a car, gave a presentation, or tried something new. It felt awkward, maybe terrifying, but with repetition it became normal. This is why discomfort is not punishment, it's investment. Every time you step into discomfort, you're expanding the size of your life. The growth mindset shift. Instead of running from discomfort, start seeking it. Train your mind to associate discomfort with progress. Nervous before a presentation, that's growth. Feeling resistance to going to the gym, that's growth. Waiting. Afraid of a bold decision, that's growth. Whispering. When you reframe discomfort as proof that you're evolving, it stops being a burden. It becomes a signal of progress. The discomfort challenge. For the next week, do 1 thing each day that pushes you outside your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be huge, just something that stretches you. Try a new skill you've avoided. Document it. Reflect on it. By the end of the week, you'll not only have new experiences, you'll have a stronger mindset. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. If you want to raise your standards, discipline must fuel your engine, but discomfort must fuel your growth. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not necessarily the most talented. They're simply the ones willing to do what others won't, to step boldly into discomfort, again and again. Chapter 7. Build unshakable self-respect. You cannot raise your standards without raising the way you see yourself. Everything you tolerate in life is a mirror of how much or how little you root yourself. Self-respect is the foundation of high standards. Without it, discipline feels forced, boundaries feel weak, and growth feels temporary. With it, you become unshakable. The core of self-respect. Self-respect is not arrogance, ego, or pride. It's not thinking you're better than others. It's knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it. Think about this. The way you allow others to treat you is directly tied to how much you value yourself. If you don't respect your own time, your own goals, your own energy, why would anyone else? Self-respect is not something you wait for people to give you. It's something you decide to live by. The 3 pillars of self-respect: boundaries, saying no when something dishonors your time, energy, or values. Boundaries are not walls. They're filters that protect what matters. Integrity, doing what you said you would do. Every broken promise to yourself chips away at your respect. Every kept promise builds it. Self-care is self-respect, not in the fluffy sense, but in the disciplined sense. Eating well, moving your body, resting enough, and feeding your mind. Respect is demonstrated through the way you maintain yourself, the silent contract you make with yourself. Every day you make a silent contract with yourself. This is what I will tolerate. This is what I will demand. If you allow excuses, procrastination, toxic relationships, and half-hearted effort, you're sending yourself a message. I don't deserve better. But when you demand more, when you uphold your word, honor your boundaries, treat yourself as someone worth protecting, you send a new message. I respect myself too much to settle. That's when your standards rise naturally. The connection between self-respect and standards. Standards are external. Self-respect is internal. The higher your self-respect, the higher your external standards will climb. If you respect your health, you won't tolerate laziness or neglect. If you respect your mind, you won't tolerate toxic distractions. If you respect your dreams, you won't tolerate environments that suffocate them. Raising your standards without raising self-respect is like building a house on sand. It won't stand. How to build self-respect daily. Keep small promises to yourself. Don't start with giant leaps. Start with small commitments. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the workout you planned. Read the chapter you promised yourself. Each win stacks into self-respect. Cut ties with self-betrayal. Stop tolerating things that drain you. Stop saying yes to things that dishonor you. Stop betraying yourself just to be liked or accepted. Upgrade your inner dialogue. Words are powerful. The way you speak to yourself shapes your standard. Stop calling yourself lazy, unworthy, or weak. Instead, speak to yourself as you would to someone you deeply respect. Audit your environment. If you keep people around who disrespect you, it's only because you allow it. Build an environment where respect is mutual, where you are valued, and where your standards are reinforced. Respect creates power. When you respect yourself, people feel it. You walk differently. You speak differently. You no longer beg for validation or chase approval. You command it, not by force, but by presence. And when your self-respect is unshakable, you stop settling. You stop chasing things beneath you. You stop compromising on the life you're meant to live. This is why raising your standards isn't just about ambition, it's about identity. You will never rise above the level of respect you have for yourself. Raising your standards begins here, not in ambition, not in goals, but in self-respect. Because once you respect yourself deeply, you'll never again tolerate the version of life that once felt acceptable. Chapter 8. Demand more from life and yourself. At some point you must look at your life and ask the hard question, am I living at the level I know I'm capable of? Lets people settle long before they should. They convince themselves that comfort is happiness, that good enough is fulfillment. But the truth, comfort is a cage. It keeps you small, it keeps you quiet, and it slowly drains your potential. The standard you set is the standard life gives you. Demand little, receive little. Demand more, and life begins to rise to meet you. But this demand isn't about entitlement. It's not about expecting the world to hand you something. It's about requiring yourself to rise higher first. Stop negotiating with yourself. You know the voice. I'll start tomorrow. I'll just do half. Maybe this is enough. That voice is the voice of low standards. It convinces you to shrink, to compromise, to negotiate with your own greatness. Raising your standards means cutting off that negotiation. You stop giving yourself permission to retreat. You stop giving yourself permission to retreat. You stop lowering the bar just to feel comfortable. From this moment, you decide, I will demand more from myself, no matter what it costs. Demand more through action, not just desire. Anyone can want more. Wanting is easy. What separates those who rise is the decision to act as though more is already required. If you demand more energy from yourself, your habits must change. If you demand more respect from others, you must respect yourself first. If you demand more success, you must step into action daily, not just occasionally. Demand is not spoken, it's demonstrated. The third end of effort. Here's the truth. Most people fail, not because they aren't capable, but because they never demand maximum effort. They put in just enough. They give half-hearted energy and wonder why results don't come. Raise your effort to a level that feels uncomfortable. Push beyond what feels easy, because growth is not born in the familiar. It's born in the stretch. Refuse to settle. Look around at your life right now. Where have you settled? Where have you told yourself, this is okay, I can live with this? Settling kills potential. Settling keeps your life ordinary. Settling tells the world that you've stopped expecting more from yourself. From today forward, refuse to settle. Refuse to accept anything that insults your potential. Refuse to stay small when you know you were made for more. Practical steps to demand more from life are: audit your standards. Write down your current standards in health, finances, relationships, and self-growth. Then ask yourself, what would the highest version of me demand instead? Set a non-negotiable list. Define the behaviors you will no longer tolerate from yourself and others. Non-negotiables create clarity, and clarity creates power. Challenge your ceiling. Whatever you think is your limit, add more. Do one more rep. Stay focused for one more hour. Push one step further than you believe you can. This rewires your belief of what's possible. Live as if you already demand more. Don't wait for the promotion, the body, or the opportunity. Act today like you are already operating at the level you aspire to. This alignment forces reality to catch up. Demand creates transformation. Life does not respond to half commitments. It responds to intensity. It responds to certainty. It responds to those who refuse to settle for less. The moment you raise your demand on yourself, your energy shifts, your standards rise, your results follow, and suddenly the life that once felt out of reach becomes the only reality you're willing to accept. Remember this truth: the world will never give you more than what you demand of yourself first. Chapter 9. Break limits. Build a new identity. Every standard you raise is really about one thing: who you decide to become. Your habits, your choices, your effort, all of it flows from the identity you hold about yourself. If you see yourself as average, you will act average. If you see yourself as someone who settles, you will always find a way to compromise. But the moment you decide to see yourself differently, everything begins to change. Raising your standards is not just about doing more, it's about being more. Limits are learned, not real. Think back on your life. Every limit you thought you had was something you eventually broke. As a child, you once thought you couldn't ride a bike until you did. You thought you couldn't pass that exam until you studied harder and proved yourself wrong. You thought you couldn't face a challenge until life forced you to rise. Your so-called limits are simply habits of belief. They are invisible walls you've accepted as real. But here's the truth: limits exist only until you challenge them. Your identity creates your standards. If you want to raise your standards permanently, you must raise your identity first. Ask yourself, who do I see myself as right now? Who do I want to see when I look in the mirror a year from today? The identity shift happens when your actions are no longer a stretch, but a reflection of who you are. A person who identifies as an athlete doesn't try to exercise. They move because it's who they are. A leader doesn't try to act confident. They speak boldly because it's their identity. When you begin to embody the identity of someone who never settles, raising standards is no longer effort. It's natural. Breaking the cycle of excuses. Excuses are just ways of defending your old identity. They protect the person you used to be. But to grow, you must outgrow your excuses. Stop saying, that's just how I am. Stop saying, I've always been this way. Stop saying, it's not possible for me. Those statements lock you in a past version of yourself. And as long as you keep repeating them, you'll never create the future version you desire. Instead, replace them with identity-shaping declarations. I am someone who always shows up. I am someone who demands the best from myself. I am someone who doesn't stop until the work is done. Speak it, believe it, act it, and your new identity will take root. How to rebuild your identity in practice. Create identity statements. Write down the qualities of the person you want to become. Start affirming them daily, not as wishes, but as truths you are living into. Match action to identity. If you want to be confident, act with confidence, even if it feels forced at first. If you want to be disciplined, follow through, especially when you don't want to. Rehearse the future you. Each day, visualize yourself living as your higher identity. Feel the energy, the certainty, the clarity. Then align your behavior so your vision becomes your reality. Destroy the old labels, whatever negative labels you've carried. Lazy, insecure, inconsistent. Let them go. They are not who you are. They are who you used to be. Identity fuels standards. Standards fuel destiny. You cannot raise your standards long-term without raising the standard of who you believe you are. Identity fuels action. Action fuels results. Results reinforce identity. This cycle either keeps you stuck or accelerates your growth. The choice is yours. Will you continue carrying the identity that keeps you limited, or will you break free, adopt a new vision of yourself, and raise the standards of who you are forever? Remember this: you don't just raise standards, you become someone who lives. Chapter 10. The standard you set, the life you get. Every chapter up until now has been guiding you toward this truth. The quality of your life will always match the standard you are willing to demand of yourself. If your standards are low, your results will always fall short of what you're truly capable of. If your standards rise, everything around you must rise to meet them. Your work, your relationships, your health, your mindset, your very destiny. This is the power you hold. No one else can set your standards for you. The world will always try to pull you toward average, to tempt you with comfort, to convince you that good enough is acceptable. But the people who create lives worth remembering, the ones who live with freedom, power, and purpose, are the ones who raise their standards and never lower them again. Your standards shape every corner of your life. In discipline, your standard decides whether you follow through or quit. In relationships, your standard decides whether you surround yourself with growth or settle for toxicity. In career, your standard decides whether you keep hiding behind excuses or rise into leadership. In health, your standard decides whether you take ownership of your body or watch it decline. Your standards are not negotiable if you want transformation. They are the foundation of everything. The final shift. Non-negotiable standards. Here is your ultimate step forward. Choose one area of your life right now where you will no longer compromise. Decide on a non-negotiable standard that becomes your line in the sand. Maybe it's, I no longer allow myself to miss workouts. I no longer allow procrastination to dictate my day. I no longer accept disrespect in my relationships. One new standard creates a ripple effect. And when you stack them, when you raise standard after standard, your identity transforms, and with it your life. The journey has only begun. This audiobook has not been about motivation alone. It has been about building a foundation of self-respect, clarity, and power. The words here are not the end. They are a beginning, because after today, every moment of your life becomes a test. Will you live to your old standards or your new ones? Will you settle or will you demand more from yourself? Will you live a life of excuses or a life of excellence? Your answer is written in action, not words. Final reminder, you are not here to live an ordinary life. You are here to become a standard raiser, to prove to yourself and the world that greatness begins when you stop settling. So raise your standards, then raise them again, because as long as you keep growing, there is no ceiling to what you can become. Remember, the standard you set is the life you get. If this audiobook inspired you, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to ReadFlow Audiobook, and share it with someone who needs to raise their standards too. Together we can build a world where people stop settling and start living.